And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another week, another edition of the KSL, the Korean StarCraft League. Week number 35. I almost said 35. Week number 34. I'm, of course, Showslide VIP, and with me, I'm joined by my lovely plushies and the people in the chat, alongside all these amazing players. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys wish to have a look at the bracket yourselves. Bracket is live. Check-ins are done, and we have quite a stacked tournament indeed, and we have our starting match here. There's a lot of big names hitting each other, a lot of big names already. You know, we have a Gumiho in the first round, we got Solar, we got Nightmare, we got Rewhite, Classic as well, and I just said his name. I was meant to say Dark as well, and here we go. Spawning in the top right hand corner of our Kyone, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the red Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming. It is Hyperion. We have a PVZ to kick things off. Again, you can have a look at the bracket to see where all of this leads us and all the other matches ongoing. If you want to tune into maybe one of the other first-round matches, I believe Dave Testa and Chicken Man are also casting in English over on their own respective channels. I believe Enki is casting in Spanish, as well as, I think, Into the Inu casting in Korean. So plenty of plenty of coverage, as Hyperion is going to be a little bit cheeky here on Akione. We're going to be taking and rushing into that gold. Show us what you got. Of course, Classic is one of the best Protoss players in all of Korea. He is top 2 alongside Hero, arguably top 2, and I'm sure we have some creator fans in the chat as well, don't get me wrong. But yeah, Classic, he is coming in as the heavy favorite. Meanwhile, Hyperion, I believe he's more of a manager, or has a more managerial role in CranKy Gaming, but he's a GM and he's a pro player himself. So I'm excited to see how Hyperion can maybe cause an upset. Hyperion, of course, being top two Zerg player in China. I would say top 2 alongside Silky. I think in some aspects Hyperion can be a stronger player than Silky, in other aspects less so. I think Silky is a lot more versatile. He can be, again, a very unpredictable player, and Hyperion maybe doing his best Silky impression here. Here we go, the boys are being pulled. We're going to be main-nighting over towards this gold base. Classic, meanwhile, hasn't checked yet. He went into the main, he saw the gas, he saw the pool, he is looking for the expansion, and it looks like, yeah, he's going to be checking the gold, and he will come across the creep, the base, and the drones. He sees what is going on, and now the question becomes, how do we punish? How do we punish this Zerg player that has just raced into this gold base? Ling's speed is on the way. Rocks are being knocked down. Very important here. Hyperion, he needs to knock these down to be able to actually protect his base and protect this location. Back at home, we have our tech of choice. It's going to be a Stargate opener. So this is looking like a standard opener here out of Classic. But these adepts have potential. They can harass either the gold or the main base, one or the other. Link speed is still a ways off. It's going to be difficult for Hyperion to actually keep up here with the adept control, with the adept positioning between these two bases. As the adept does threaten the shade into that gold mineral line, we do protect it for now. Lings are in position. Third base being taken. So far, the adept hasn't done any damage yet, but we have a second adept on the way. Behind this, again, Oracle in production for Classic. Is that Stargate into Oracle first. And again, Classic, he doesn't have to threaten this base. He can go elsewhere. And the problem is that Lings are in position at the gold. Lings are not in position in the main. So Classic, he can just find damage here in a different mineral line. And he will commit. Huh. We dive into the main base. We get one drone. A couple of Lings are actually here, but they're going to be whittled away at one after the other. 2 Lings are left, 1 Ling is left, and that will go down. But we only got 1 drone. Ling speed kicks in, and Hyperion does get here in time. Honestly, really fortunate as the Oracle comes in. Really fortunate that for Hyperion that Classic didn't go to the main base first, that he went to the gold first, because that's where the Lings happened to be in position. Things could have been so much worse for Hyperion, but he defends. He barely loses anything. That's going to be 2 workers, 1 in the main, 1 at the gold base. He keeps everything else alive, and he's getting away with this gold base. He's getting away with this economy. Roach Warren is thrown down at around the 4-minute mark, and I'm sure this is going to be leading into an all-in. Hyperion has no reason to get a Roach Warren this early on, especially against a Stargate-based opener, which he is fully aware of. So usually, if you're up against a Stargate, you delay the Roach Warren until around the 5-minute mark. That's like your standard Roach Warren timing. To get it any earlier than that, to me, is a bit odd. Ideally, you do this if you feel like you're up against a Twilight Council opener just to get in time. Oracles, they dive into the natural base and they get 3 more drones. 3 workers. But for one Oracle, not quite worth it here for Classic. At least he was able to get a couple of workers over time. It was technically 4 workers for 1 Oracle, but yeah, not the best trade here from Classic. Meanwhile, behind this, it's going to be an Oracle opener into a 3rd, into a Twilight Council. Glaive Adepts are on the way. A very committed follow-up here from Classic, and I do appreciate this. I do like this. This is a good way to punish a greedy Zerg player to bounce between the bases with mass Glaive Adepts. And so far, Hyperion doesn't see this. He is in the dark. He has Roaches potentially on the way. Roach Warren is done, so he should have an army. But it's about, can he keep up with the movement going between the gold, the natural, the main, back to the gold as well. It's going to be difficult. Here we go. The Adepts are on the way. We have how many? 14 Adepts in total. And Hyperion, how many Roaches do we have? 0. We have 4 Roaches in production. We have a decent amount of Lings. We have 22 Lings as well, but the Adepts are making their way across the map. They have now been scouted. We now know. We know the Queens are being caught out. High energy Queen at that is going to fall. The Lings are going to try and chase down those Shades. Meanwhile, we bust into the mineral line. 3 workers go down. We commit to the Shade. And the Ling's not quite in position. The Roaches still here at the goal base. And we're getting even more damage done. This is what I was worried about. Again, just trying to keep up here with the movement of the Protoss. Shade into main. Lings, we're kind of here. But another 7 workers have fallen. And that's still a healthy amount of Adepts. More Adepts here, shading into the goal base as well. We left a couple of Roaches behind, but 15 workers, 16, 19, 20. 24, and this is what is difficult about taking the goal base on Alcyone, specifically Glaive Adepts. Whether it was a Glaive Adept opener or a Glaive Adept follow-up, which is what happened, being able to accurately, correctly split up your army, defend all your fringe bases it is quite a difficult task to accomplish here. And eventually, the Roaches will clean this up, but not before over 25 workers go down. We can see here, finally, the Roaches are shutting down these Adepts one after the other. We can see that the army is slowly being whittled away at, and we should into the Shade once again. We're going to get some more drones. No! No more! 27 workers in total. Back at home, Classic already has Blink on the way. Forge is done. +1 is late. The downside, obviously, of going Glaives first is that your Blink and +1 is heavily delayed. But 27 workers, that's well worth it. Like, Classic, he did more than enough damage with his Adepts. And hey, his Blink is going to finish up just in time for a counterattack. So his Stalkers are looking strong. If I want to be a little bit critical, this Forge and +1 is very late. And we can see we're chrono boosting it to try to make up for that, to make up for lost time. And Classic, you know, to help make up for this as well, he's taking his own goal. Mines through these patches, taking his own goal base, showing Hyperion how it's done, at least on this map. And Hyperion, he's still struggling to recover. He's still at 43 workers, now joining up a little bit further. Classic in a really comfortable position economically, and now we can push. Now we can push. Roach is going down one after the other. 20 Lings are in production. Classic, he's just edging onto creep. He isn't committing. He's just clearing up whatever creep he can with these exposed tumors. Maybe a couple of overlords here and there. Revelation does not quite hit any of those tumors, unfortunately. If we wanted to, we could actually blink up the ramp into the core base, which would be wild. I don't think we quite want to go for that yet. And his stasis trap is thrown down. Storm is on the way as a splash damage of choice of Miles. Oof. We'll connect with that stasis trap. Not too bad here from Hyperion. We do end up triggering that stasis, and Classic is going to have to completely back off, but he's getting away with this gold. The Maynard is real as probes are being sent on over. Rocks are being knocked down. same time, Hyperion going to be threatening a counterattack. The control of the Zoldanga. Well, the Zoldanga was in control of Classic, so he sees it ahead of time. He rotates over, keeps up with the Lings, and shuts them down. Now, at least Hyperion was given a chance to recover economically. You know, we're up to 53 workers at this point. We're getting a 4th base up and running. Decent saturation, but the reality is that Hyperion is still far behind. He's still behind 20 workers compared to Classic. And now we have Storm. And Classic is even going for a double rover behind this to get into double Disruptor or double Colossus production. Once these rovers finish, we can get into a Robotic Spay. We do have Hyperion pushing on the right-hand side towards that gold. The storms are real. Now, storms, they don't do the most amount of damage to Roach Ravager, but it is not insignificant as the army is being softened up. Stalkers are coming in, good control, keeping those High Templar back, keeping them safe, keeping them sound. We just dive on top of the army. And the Stalkers, they just brutalize the Roach Ravager. GG gets called, and Classic will take game number 1. GG. A solid game there from Classic. Initially, it was a good start from Hyperion, but you know, we just saw how difficult it really can be to protect your fringe bases, to keep up with Glaive Adepts when you've expanded so far out into the open. You are so spread thin, and again, Classic was able to take advantage of Hyperion in the end, take game number 1. But what I will say is that I appreciate that Hyperion did, in a way, think outside the box. Here on Alcyone, he was willing to play a little bit differently, less than standard, rushing into the goal base, trying to take an advantage, and putting the onus on Classic to punish him. I mean, Classic did. Totally did. Classic was more than willing to you know, be in the face of Hyperion and be in the mineral line as well. But at least Hyperion did kind of force that out of him, and you know, at least initially things were going well. When I say initially, I mean the first 2 Adepts and the first 2 Oracles. Like, we were able to deal with that pretty fine. Oh, hold on, I need to... My green screen is not positioned correctly. Hold on. Yeah, initially things were... Initially, is this better? Yeah. Initially things were looking decent for Hyperion. Like, he was able to keep up. You know, things started to fall apart at the seams though once we got towards 3-base saturation, once we got towards the follow-up, which of course was the Glaive Adepts. That was when the pressure did start. It didn't stop. Did not stop from Classic. And now we're getting into game number 2. We are getting into that second game on Golden Aura. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Golden Aura, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds, leading the series 1-0. It is Classic. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Chinese Zerg player representing CranKy Gaming. It is Hyperion. Here we go. So I'm catching up with the chat. Hyperion is the base of Raynor's Raiders. True, true. Are we talking about one Raynor or the other? Ah. The Italian Stallion? It's one of his boys? Maybe, maybe. We can construct the lore, it's all good. Bienvenidos to Furajin, MW as well. Where are we going? To the moon, papi, to the moon. Ah. Well, welcome completes the Kitten Jedi, Slow Bro, obviously. Shout out to Babyling, and I don't want to miss anyone. Tater Tutor, Easy Phil, bienvenidos. Bienvenidos. As for now, we have a standard opener. Now, don't get me wrong, we're on Golden Aura. It's in the name. There is a gold base, but this time we don't quite rush into it. I haven't really seen a player rush into this gold outside of ZVZ. In ZVZ, I think it was Oreo. I think Oreo versus Demi. We saw Oreo take this as his third, if I'm not mistaken. I think he took it as his third base. As he did spawn here towards the bottom right hand corner, and yeah, he was able to make use of that. This was I think the week of the patch, the week of release. from this patch. But outside of that, we haven't really been seeing too many people be too adventurous. Usually this is taken as like a 5th base, like a pretty standard 5th base timing here, depending on who has map control and who does have control of the game and the map itself. As back at home, Classic just going to be going for a Nexus first, sorry, for a gate expand into a cyber core as well. So nothing too crazy here. We have our tech of choice. Oh my god, and Classic is looking to turn up the heat here. It is going to be a Twilight Council opener. Okay. Instead of the Stargate that we saw last game, it's going to be a Twilight Council. This is far more aggressive. This should be leading into something like Glaive at Depths or something like Dark Templar. That's another possibility. We're going to be keeping our eye on these gases. The gas count will give us a little bit more insight as to how aggressive we really want to be. If we do stay in gas, again, we can head towards DTs. We could even go Glaives plus DTs as well, as the lane does slip in and does get eyes on the Twilight Council. Very important scout. Very crucial scout here from Hyperion. And there it is. We have the Dark Shrine thrown down here. Quite an exposed Dark Shrine, but was not revealed to the Ling. So it is going to be a DT opener. The Dark Templar are upon us. Now, upon scouting this, Hyperion, he knows to get an earlier Roach Warren at around, the 3:30 to the 4-minute mark. We want to be throwing down a Roach Warren to get ready for potentially Glaive Adepts. Meanwhile, Classic is going to be moving across the map. Just going to be harassing here with a couple of regular Adepts just to threaten and pose a threat here to Hyperion, threaten the mineral line even, and get a couple of worker kills. But now Hyperion is able to keep up. And so far hasn't lost too much here as we commit to the shade. Oh! A worker is going to go down, but the Lings, they get a full surround, and the Adepts should be cleaned up without too much issue. Behind this, we have a bit of a gateway explosion. It's going to be 4 gateways in total. Again, so we can get 4 DTs and morph in the Archons later on. That's what's important. Here it is. There's a Roach Warren at the 4-minute mark. So very normal Roach timing here, considering what he's up against. Hopefully Hyperion doesn't skip Spores. He may be convinced that it's Glaive Adepts, especially after what happened in Game 1. Game 1, Adepts did kill him, to be fair. Like, they did cripple his economy, and he could not keep up afterwards. So he may be hyper fixated on that. If he doesn't get Spores, then he will lose a base. So here comes the drop, and there's no Spores, Papi. Okay, there we go. We have 1 Spore here at the 3rd. We have 1 Spore, not quite at the main base. In the natural, the main is exposed, and Classic happens to be headed in that direction. Okay, we have 1 Dark Templar here working towards either the natural or the 3rd base. We have the drop going into the main as well, and the main is so exposed. Here come another wave of Dark Templar, and immediately we have the Spore on the way, but it may just be too late. Meanwhile, DT in the natural is going to be cleaned up. There is detection ready for it. But we can go straight for the drones. We can go straight for the Spore as well. We could even try to get some tech. That's going to be 14 drones in total. We do not have WSIS game heart, so we have to look at the units lost time here. 14 workers do go down. We go straight for the base. Spore crawlers trying to reposition, but it may just be too late. The Spore is late to reposition. The main base will go down at the same time. We recall back home. And not a single DT will make it out alive, but we have another Dark Templar here at the 3rd base. GG gets called. It's just too much damage, and Classic will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. Unfortunately, we saw Spore at the 3rd, at the natural. There was no Spore in the main base, and we were not quite. What's important? We didn't see the prism. We didn't see the war prism moving out. Usually, you have your Lings active on the map to see that, to know that you do need detection ready. You need to be prepared in the main base for that war prism. Alas, it wasn't seen. It wasn't scouted, and Hyperion was not ready for it. GG, well played. A brutal start there, a brutal series, but nonetheless, very well done by Classic. Again, Classic, he is one of the best Protoss players in all of South Korea. So he's coming in as even one of the favorites for the entire tournament. It's difficult for anyone to stand up to him. But will our next player avenge his fallen Zerg comrade? Because we have another PVZ. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the back of yourselves. Because my oh my, we have a matchup. as we switch our scenes over. And up next, as we have a look at the bracket, we have Dark taking down Bad Boars at the bottom of the brackets, advancing on to the next round, and Dark is going to be facing off against Classic in the quarterfinals. Oh, let's go. Let us go. As we just try to update the scores and try to get everyone on the same page. But yeah, we moved from one PVZ into the other, and I'm happy to see Dark again. I'm happy to see Dark again. And why do I bring this up? Well, obviously we've been casting a lot of StarCraft this past week, this past month, this past year, a couple of years. But during this week, we were covering ESL Open Cup Asia and ESL Open Cup Americas. And during the cast, I did note that there was a regular that was missing. There was someone who's always there in these ESL Open Cups, who's typically the Zerg player to wave that flag and to carry the race in these online tournaments. And he was missing. And that's Dark. Dark was not here for ESL Asia, was not here for ESL Americas this week. He was here for KSL over the weekend, but during the week he was absent. And I was a little bit concerned. After ESL Asia, I was like, oh, you know, he's not here, it happens, you know, he's probably here tomorrow. But he wasn't. He wasn't there in the morning for ESL Americas either. As a result, we had a lot of TVPs and TVTs. As Dark is usually, again, making these deep runs, it usually adds a little bit more diversity to the top four of these online tournaments. But yeah, he wasn't there, and at the time I was like, we'll see if he does, you know, if something's going on. I know that Dark still hasn't done his military service, and he is poised to conduct his military service, I believe, this year. I'm pretty sure this year was meant to be his year to go to the military. That hasn't occurred yet, and you know, maybe he was sick, maybe something else is going on. So I was keeping my eye on the I guess on how active Dark was going to be, and he happens to be here 2 weeks in a row for KSL, thankfully. So we still have some Dark action. Again, maybe he was just busy through the week, or you know, what have you. Regardless, he has returned. He has returned to StarCraft after being absent. I guess the other reason why it stood out is because Dark is probably the most active Zerg player in the online tournament scene. If you have a tournament and Dark isn't there, or you're missing one of the 3 Terrans, or you're missing Hero, for example, you're missing Bjorn, it's worth pointing out at times. And as I say that, Bjorn is also missing here today as well. There's Hero up there, but Bjorn is not quite here, but that's normal for KSL. That's I just realized what I was saying. Bjorn is usually here for the ESL Open Cups. Bjorn, Cure, they're a little bit less active with KSL because this is a little bit earlier in the day. It's too soon to be awake for the Terrans. They wake up later on. It's fine. It's fine. That's been the trend. That has been the trend with KSL. Is that apparently it's too early for the Terrans, and these events have to be a little bit later to actually get them to participate. Shaking my head. At least we have Gumi here. And Oliveira. But the players are just going to be conducting their vetoes. They are just conducting the vetoes, and we are getting things ready here for our next series. Which again is going to be Dark versus Classic. As we scroll up, we can actually just go over the entire bracket here. We have Hero at the very top, waiting for his next opponent, waiting to advance on to the quarterfinals. We have Firefly versus Hon Mono. That actually looks like a really sick series. I love that. A TVP there between Hung Mono and the might that is Firefly, best Protoss in the region, arguably best Protoss in the region. Scrolling down a little bit further, we have Oliveira versus Anticore into Gumiho, as Gumiho did take down Noinsung 2-0. So potential for TVT. Funada, the admins here, for forcing the 2 Terran players to face off against each other here in the quarterfinals. But there can only be one. There can only be one Terran to make it to the semis. Scrolling down a little bit further, we have Solar versus Slip, and we have Nightmare versus Rewhite in a PvP. That's going to be low-key a really interesting series. Nightmare versus Rewhite. Rewhite has been popping off in PvP. Rewhite recently defeated Showtime in the best of 3. So I'm really curious to see how that turns out, and if Rewhite can make some magic happen again and somehow overcome Nightmare. So again, some really strong series here, eventually leading to those semifinals. Again, if you're a fan of Terran, it is a shame that both Oliveira and Gumiho have to face off against each other. It is going to limit the amount of TVTs that we have, and yeah, limits Terran representation. We should have at least one though for the semis. There's like that saving grace. We're going to have at least one of them there, unless Anticore causes an upset. It's possible. It's possible. Anticore, he could pop off somehow, some way, but it's gonna be an uphill battle for him. The best of luck. Best of luck to Anticore. As yeah, we're getting a couple of other updates coming in as well. Nothing too out of the norm though, and it does look like we may just take a step back here. It looks like the players just needed a bit of a bathroom break before getting into this. Lots of heavy hitters in the back. Yeah, of course. Oh my god. The broken race, and now they're late too. Again, if you don't tune into KSL too often, here, especially here on a Saturday, it is a little bit earlier than normal for these Korean-based tournaments. And Kieran Byun, notoriously Kieran Byun, and Maru as well, they're not quite here for it. I make up the narrative that it's because it's too early and they're asleep. It's very possible that they're just busy over the weekend, every weekend, and you know they're just not as available as everyone else. But I like the narrative that they just sleep in. It's more of a harmless narrative about them being a little bit more degen. I don't think we have confirmation on that, not yet. If we do, I will mention though. I will as we're getting into our next series. We're getting into our ZVP. Vetoes are done, and it looks like game 1 is going to be on Oceanborn. Let's go. Let's go. Quack. Oh, don't show me units lost. Ay. It's this slow, bro. That's a deep cut. If you know, you know. But yeah, it looks like we're just getting a couple of other casters in here as well. Just going to be getting them all in. As we slip ourselves into that ZVP. Vamonos, let's go. Again, we apologize for the delay, but our players just need a little bit of time to get themselves ready, and now we can just dive headfirst into the ocean. Born. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon KZ Gaming. One of the best Zergs in South Korea. It is Dark. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponents. We have the South Korean Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. And we saw a lot of very aggressive plays at a Classic in that last PVZ, in that series against Hyperion. But I also feel like that was a lot of Classic just testing the waters and just looking to get through that series. I'm sure Classic was aware that, of course, there was a bit more of a skill gap between himself and Hyperion. Here against Dark, though, that's a different story. Dark, of course, I would say is the favored player in this matchup. They do go a little bit more back and forth, but typically in favor of Dark. So it's going to be on Classic to really turn it on and really bring something different to the table. As here we go, Dark going for a hatch block. Let's go. Now, if you've been tuning into some Dark recently, I say recently, I mean maybe a week ago, 2 weeks ago, because he hasn't been active this week. Dark has been very fond of this in ZVP. We casted Dark versus Hero in the last week finals of KSL. We casted Dark versus Estrella as well. Dark versus Nightmare. And again, Dark has been doing this at least once every series Now, we're not looking to allow this to finish. It's going to be a hatch gas pool opener here out of Dark, going into a natural base eventually, once he deals with this probe. But this shouldn't finish. This is designed to delay the expansion and to... Oh my god, it's actually going to force the unnatural natural? No shot. Classic. Okay, so usually when a Protoss player sees this, they pull the boys. They pull like 5 probes, they get their Zealot out, they DPS this down, and they force a cancel. Classic is set up, and he will take the unnatural natural. This is wild in a PvZ. I haven't quite seen this reaction before, but I guess if he doesn't want to lose mining time, if he wants to be economic, this does make sense, but it's just such a risky maneuver. The Overlord will spot this, will confirm. So oh my god, the hatchery will finish. We got Lings on the way, Queens as well. Usually this hatchery does not complete, but Dark is committed. We have more Lings on the way behind this. Roach one is thrown down. I love this from Dark. He's adapting on the fly. So usually this is just designed to delay the economy, but specifically because Classic expanded and because this base is so vulnerable, and because he allowed this hatchery to finish, Dark, he switches gears. He switches gears entirely. He's going to be going to look, and he's going to be looking to punish Classic. And life gives you lemons. You do make that lemonade, and Lings are going to do what they can. The hatchery does go down. These Lings are going to be cleaned up, but what they're doing is keeping this army busy. Again, this is also a big reason as to why usually you don't allow this to finish. Oh, we do have a Roach on the way into the natural base here of Classic. Lings are arriving as well. We have a Stargate opener, Void Ray in production. Queens are waddling or looking to waddle across the map as well. Now we'll see how Dark is able to really bring this all together, because there's a lot of tech and not a lot of workers. Dark, he's on 18 drones. He throws down a Baneling nest alongside the Roaches and Lings. I don't know if I'm convinced here. This Roach is going to go down in the main base, and here comes the rest of the army. Void Ray should force this back. GG gets called upon seeing the Void Ray, and Classic will take game 1. GG. Yeah, I was not gonna lie, I wasn't really sold on what Dark was doing. I was like, are we gonna throw down a Baneling nest? Can we get the Roaches across the map? There's no lair, which means there's no Nidus, there's no creep spread, there's no way to get the Queens out. And it looks like Dark was hoping that there wasn't going to be a Void Ray. If it was like maybe an Oracle or something, then maybe that would work, but I think Dark was having too much fun. I think he was thinking a little bit too hard about it. He's like, okay, how do I punish this? I'm still not too fond of letting the hatchery finish, but he let the hatchery finish, went for the Roach Warren, and went for a Roach across the map into a Baneling nest. It was a little bit all over the place. Too much. We're going to be calming things down, getting into the next game. Into game number 2. I liked that we were being creative, but you know, maybe a little bit too much. Maybe maybe it was a little bit too out there. But I think there's potential. Like winding it back a little bit, I do believe that there is potential to punish Classic in that position. Not quite in the way that we saw, but I do think you can. I'm sure Dark knows that as well. That's why he reacted the way that he did. He's like, I need to do something. As we're getting into our next game. And spawning in the bottom right hand corner of Hard Lead, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing Dragon Kai Gaming, going for a 12 pool. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Twisted Minds, leading the series 1-0 after a very chaotic game 1. It is Classic. Here we go. Okay, so a couple of things here. One, 12 pools typically are not all in. Dark is going to be looking to expand here. Now, there is a world where the pool finishes, Lings come out, we pull the boys, and we cancel and we cancel the expansion. Meanwhile, Dark, he doesn't go for the expansion, he's going for a proxy across the map. Now, this is something that Dark does do, and this is a more refined and rehearsed build. Dark has beaten Classic with this, he's beaten Hero with this. It's a proxy hatch. This time, a straight up, actually still faking out that hatch block. Lings are coming up behind this, looking at the vision here. Classic, he did not scout the main, but now he sees. He sees those Lings moving across the map. The goal here to try to... Sorry, I just sneezed. To try to snowball out of control, to try and kill Classic here and now. I'm curious if Dark is still going to expand behind this. I doubt it. Dark, he's still on 13 drones. He's still making nothing but Lings. There we go. Drone is now moving out, looking to expand here on the low ground. And Dark, can we chip away at this wall? Can we deal with at least the gateway? There we go. Boys are being pulled up. We're looking for a surround on that Zealot. We do get a probe. We get at least one probe, but not much else behind this. As we have a second pylon as well. Classic taking this very seriously with 2 pylons and a shield battery. Bearing in mind that Dark is still not droning. He's taking a base, yes, but no drones. The Lings, they barely break in. They get a surround on one of the Zealots. But we barely have any Lings remaining. That was a rough trade there for Dark, losing 6 Lings, busting into the natural base. Hatchery will complete. Lings are coming in. The wall is not a wall. They go straight for the shield battery. Zealot is distracted. Shield battery under fire. Lings coming in from inside the natural base. Dark a little bit, yeah, just having a little bit of trouble there trying to decide how to approach this. Wanted to surround that Zealot. Does force it back. More Lings are on the way. That shield battery, it should go down. It's going to be a kill on the shield battery. The Queen is on the way. So far, we're looking for a surround, and we will get it. Ah, the Adept barely breaks through. The surround is not real. Oh my god, as we end up surrounding the Zealot instead, and now we're looking to camp the production. Looking to camp those pylons now. If these pylons go down, if these gateways are depowered, that's going to be game. Yeah, the Lings, they come back to the low ground. They know that this is the win condition. Adept goes down. Pylons are under fire as well. And is this going to be it? We have 1 Adept left in the main base. We're soon to have 1 more Adept here on the low ground. But, I mean, that's going to be the death of the production, the death of the gateways. There's nothing left. There just straight up is nothing left here. Now we have backup gateways on the way. Spine Crawler in production. We're going for the Cyber Core. Cyber Core is going to be going down. We do have a Robo. It's so exposed. The Robo's on the way, but it's at the forefront here of the base. Oh, God. And here we go. Here comes the Spine Crawler. Here comes the Creep as well. We do have a massive line here of shield batteries. But I don't think the Lings care. I don't think Dark cares. Yeah, the boys, they have to be pulled. They do have to be pulled. Likewise, the Lings, they do keep up as well, denying any kind of surface area on this Spine Crawler. No, they get us around. They look to get us around. The shield battery is under fire as well. Queen's keeping the Spine Crawlers alive, but it's an uphill battle here for Classic. He loses the shield battery. Is going to be losing a lot of probes as well. We get on top of... the Adepts. They barely hold on. One of them does, and... yeah, this Robo, this was ambitious. This Immortal is not going to come out. GG gets called, and Dark will take game number 2, tying up the series 1-1. GG. Oh my god, we're getting it, mate. Dark, he just woke up and he's angry. He's he's upset, Pap. He's upset. GG. We'll be forcing the ace match. We'll be forcing game 3 after a blunder in game 1, and I want to go that far. Like, game 1 was not well thought out. Game 1 felt very off the cuff and very improv. I think that's maybe the best way to kind of talk about game 1. Game 1 was very much so improvised. Here, game 2, this was a lot more of a straight up standard 12 full into proxy hatch. I expected the hatchery to be a part of the wall, but instead it was behind the mineral line, making it look like a hatch block instead, and luring Classic into a false sense of security. GG, well played. With that, we're going to the ace match. Let's go. Here we go. We're catching up. Oh my god, so many ads. We don't run ads here. As in, if there are ads, they're just pre-rolls. So if you're seeing ads, that is what that is. We don't just run ads in the middle of series or in the middle of matches. That's not what we do. But also, welcome Juma Rib for the first time. Be keeping my eye on you. As we're getting into game number 3, the ace match, and spawning in the top left-hand corner of site Delta, we have the South Korean Zerg player representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Dark. Thank goodness the fanfare has returned, right? It felt so wrong. Co-streaming and not having the fanfare. And in the bottom right-hand corner, we have the South Korean Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. Here we go. Classic mentally checked out of this like 2 minutes ago. I mean, kind of. Like, I'm sure Classic was just really frazzled and just, yeah, isn't in that situation too often. So Dark able to get under his skin, maybe get under his mind, twist it, if you will. Twisted Minds. And as we get into the ace match, Dark now going for a hatch first. Going for a hatch gas pool standard opener for the first time this series out of Dark. This time, no proxy hatch. And I'm sure Classic is a little bit wary about what just happened. Is a little bit concerned, but is going to be able to take his natural base. Here in the ace match, standard opener. Standard play. We're calming things down. We're calming things down. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, just the ads are automatic. Smudge, man, smudge. But usually pre-rolls play if you load a stream in for the first time. Get the pre-roll. But now though, we are going into our hatch gas pool. Again, going to be droning up and taking that natural base. Likewise, Classic should soon be getting into his tech of choice as well. We'll see if it's going to be a Stargate or a Twilight Council. Should be a Stargate, but based off of how this series has progressed, if we throw down a Twilight Council, I wouldn't blame Classic for wanting to be the one in the driver's seat and wanting to be aggressive. But there it is, Stargate. Now this Stargate should lead into an Oracle first, into a third base. Now there are different variations of Stargate opens that you can go for, involving Void Rays or Phoenixes. You can kind of go into a different direction, but generally this should be leading into a third. Reason for this is because Oracles keep you safe. The Oracles, they don't just harass across the map, but they also clean up link counterattacks and make it so difficult for the Zerg player to really punish your third and punish your Nexus. So again, the big reason as to why it is such a standard opener. Or such a common opener. As the Depths are going to be getting across the map, looking to threaten the shade. Trying to get a read on the drone count. Based on how aggressive Dark has been in this series, I don't blame Classic. He does need to keep tabs and keep an eye on the droning and the saturation here of Dark. He doesn't want to get caught out. He doesn't want to die to a big all-in again. And we have our first unit of choice. It is going to be the Void Ray. Now this Void Ray is going to hunt down Overlords. It's going to keep Dark in the dark as well and hide any follow-up tech. Now, Classic, he can just play standard from here. He can just take a third and, you know, get into a Twilight Council and a Forge. Or he could delay the Forge, go for a Twilight Council, go for something like Glaives, throw down a Fleet Beacon, get a second Stargate. Whatever he does next, Dark will not be aware of it. Or he'll have a harder time piecing it together. As the Void Ray is now moving out. Meanwhile, back at home, Dark is just droning. Again, there's no reason to get a Roach Warren this early on. We should just be droning and making queens for the most part. Lings are getting in position, and there it is! Fleet Beacon. It's what we mentioned before. Because of the Void Ray, you can take up in whatever direction you want. I was assuming we were going to be going into a Twilight Council into Glaive Adepts, but no, it's a Fleet Beacon, a second Stargate. We're rushing into either Carriers or Tempest. Let's go. Again, Classic is quite fond of this, especially going into Tempest first, so I'm curious which direction he goes in. Third base is now being taken, and I'm sure Dark is a little bit suspect. This third base is delayed. This is a couple of seconds later than normal, and we know why. It's because we invested into tech here before this third base, and I'm sure Dark is a little bit wary as to what is going on. But this doesn't scream Sky Toss is the problem. Like, we don't have +1 air attack on the way either. This helps hide this. This helps mask this. And there it is. Tempest are on the way. We are getting that upgrade as well. I think it's like Tectonic Destabilizers? Question mark? It's something Tectonic. Of course, it is an upgrade that does benefit Tempest attacking buildings. It means they can shut down spores, hatcheries, everything that much easier. And Dark, he's just saturating his 3 bases. So far, keeping up with the Oracle play. 2 workers go down. We have +1 melee in production. Lair as well, on time, at around the 5-minute 20 mark. Bailey Nest. This is looking pretty standard here out of Dark. Looking at the queen count, that is what matters. 6 queens. Oh, we are a little bit low. A little bit low on the queen count, which is concerning. Once the lair finishes, that's when we morph into an Overseer, and that's when we scout. Before the lair finishes, though, here come the first 2 Tempests. They do reveal themselves. Tempests are on the way. I think a Link saw them. I want to say there was a Link here in the attack path. Regardless, they now push on to creep. Additional queens are on the way. Spores are repositioning. And do we have enough to deal with this? 6 queens. The 6 queens, they are brought forward. So far, they're taking a little bit of damage, a couple of hits, but none of them go down. Spore under fire at the same time. We are amassing Links here for a big counterattack. So far, the transfuses are solid. And the Tempest, they haven't killed anything yet. Ling is coming for a scout. We're trying to get a read on what exactly is going on. We could totally dive on this third. Being very exposed. And there we go. We're rolling on in. Not just Lings, also Bailings. Now, they are slow, so they're just going to be waddling. Some of them will go down to the Void Rays, but so far, Classic, he may be distracted. Oh, the Tempest turns back around. And the Bailings, they do crash into the mineral line. They take down the shield battery. The Lings, they come in thereafter. No overcharge. At the same time, though, the Tempest, they're gaining ground. They're taking down the Queens. Oh, we're down to 2 remaining Queens. The Lings, they do not get any damage. They get 2 workers, but not much else. And Dark is being forced back. The Tempest, they've taken a lot of damage. But there's only 2 queens remaining, and it looks like Classic may have done it. At the same time, Lings, they try to go for a counterattack. They try to hit that 3rd base once again. But the shield battery is finishing. Void Ray just going ham here on these Lings. And the Tempest, they break through. They break through in the end. They take down the 3rd base, and this may just be too much. Corruptors are on the way. We have 10 Corruptors in production, but the base goes down. The drones! Oh, they escape. They do escape. We're going straight for the natural even. It's going to be close. 2 more volleys. 1 more volley. And they get it. They barely get the base. So they're going to have to recall. No, they kite against the Corruptors. They will go down. We have Void Rays coming in. Void Rays, they come in to reinforce. And it looks like Classic may just have too much. He's already done so much with this push, killing 2 bases. The Corruptors are going to be struggling against the Void Rays, and yeah, they're going down one after the other. This Tempest Rush from Classic has caught Dark off guard. Did hit him a little bit too soon, a little bit too early. The Void Rays go down. There's only 3 Tempests left. Oh. And GG gets called. It's just too much. Classic, he snowballs out of control, and he will take down Dark 2-1 in this series. GG. GG, well played. Classic to have the wherewithal to react in time to preserve his mineral line. The Ling Bane counterattack had a lot of potential. Had a lot of potential for Dark, but it killed 2 workers, 2 probes. That is it. That is all. Barely any damage was dealt, and yeah, with that, of course, Dark had to focus on his defenses. Could not quite keep up. The Queens were doing well initially. Given the situation, clearly additional spores would have helped. Like if we brought forward like a couple of extra spore crawlers towards that forward base. We had 1 spore alongside 6 queens. Also, remember what we pointed out. Dark was cutting queens. He only had 6. We should have had around 8 by the time the first Tempest hit. And Dark was overwhelmed. GG, well played. Congratulations to Classic. Congratulations. Here we go. Oh no, I closed something that I shouldn't. And with that, we're getting ready for our next series as well. We are going to be waiting here in the semifinals for the winner of Solar and Nightmare. ! B in the chat. Oh, sorry. There we go. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys wish to have a look at the bracket yourselves. Huh. As we switch our scenes over and have a gander over at the bracket. And here we go. From the top, we have Firefly taking down Honmono 2-0. Impressive stuff. Firefly waiting in the quarterfinals. Likewise, Gumiho takes down Noinsong 2-0, waiting for the winner of Oliveira and Anticore. That series is taking a little bit longer than expected, so we'll see if an upset does occur. And towards the bottom half of the bracket, we have Solar taking down Slip, and Nightmare did take down Rewhite. Remember, I was really excited about Nightmare versus Rewhite. I was really curious about how that series will turn out. Rewhite has been popping off in PvP. He took down Showtime like a week ago. And here he took a game, didn't take the series, but did make Nightmare work for it. So Rewhite, he's been improving a lot. Rewhite, the Chinese Protoss player, he has been improving a lot here over the past couple of months. And yeah, did go to the ace match against Nightmare. Currently, Solar and Nightmare are mid-series. The winner faces off against Classic in the next round. GG. And again, that was a very chaotic series that we just covered. Just to go back to the series and go back to that best of 3. Just a wild first 2 games with proxy hatches, and then to end it all off with a Tempest Rush for Classic. It was beautiful. I was hoping, especially after the opener, I was like, yo, standard game? No, Buffy, no standard game. And Darky just had a hard time getting a read on what was happening. Hard time getting a scout on what exactly was going on as well. This is the first time I see this work. If you tune into a lot more of the Korean events, Hero, Nightmare, and Classic, they've been doing these fast 3 plays. They started doing it at the end of last season, so maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, and they've been very fond of it. It was in the previous map pool with Ancient Cistern and with Altitude and all that stuff. Here in this map pool in more recent times, it has fallen off. Typically, I only see this on Radisson Station. Radisson Station, we see a lot of like Tempest Rush on Radisson Station is brutal, absolutely brutal. Because if you're familiar with the map Radisson Station, the Tempest can actually shoot at the mineral line from the low ground. Like it's crazy. They can actually deny mining at the natural if they do set up behind that cliff face essentially. So we have seen Tempest pop off there. This is the first time that I've seen it on site Delta, is what I will say. And yeah, GG, well played. Here we go. Hello, Snowbands, hello. And we have an, oh my god, we have an update, by the way, as we were just catching up in the chat. But as we do catch up, it looks like we have Nightmare taking down Solar 2-0. Oh my god, a bit of a live update there. I was about to cut to a break. I still may. But yeah, Nightmare popping off here. He has been looking strong. This is not the first time he's beaten Solar. Fun fact, in the GSL qualifiers of this season of GSL, we were lucky enough to cast the qualifiers. Solar did fall to Nightmare as well. Did fall to Nightmare in the qualifiers, and it happens again here in KSL. Ay. GG, well played. And that is, if I'm not mistaken, gonna be the end of Zerg in this tournament. Dark and Solar, usually they go far, usually they go at least into the semis, maybe the finals, maybe they win the event, but both Solar and Dark were knocked out in the quarterfinals, and instead we have a PvP for the lower semis. Let us go. Just need a moment to set that up. As we have some other updates coming in, it looks like we have one Terran player left in the tournament as well. I think the updates are about to go through. But Oliveira did actually take down Anticore and... Oh. Sorry, I'm just catching up. But it looks like Oliveira did take down Anticore, and Gumiho just took down Oliveira 2-1, advancing onto the upper semifinals. Oh my god, so many updates coming in. Apparently Hero did take down Buckstar and Firefly as well, so just a wave of updates here. Apparently the challenge bracket wasn't updated, but Hero waiting in the upper semis and about to start against Gumiho as well. Oh my god, as we're nearing the end of the tournament. Both semifinals will happen at the same time. And then we go straight into the finals. Oh my god. So a bit of a faster broadcast here today. Really fast games everywhere. Not just in our portion of the bracket, but really fast games in the upper half of the bracket as well. Alright, let's go. Let us go. Hold on. To get rid of pre-rolls. I'm gonna say predictions will be set up. Huh. All right, here we go. Predictions are open and spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Alkyone. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing Matcherino Esports, taking down Solar in the quarterfinals. It is Nightmare. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss representing Twisted Minds. We have Classic. Here we go. But again, so we did actually get partnered yesterday, or I say yesterday, I want to say almost 2 days ago at this point, we did reach partner. So if there are ads running, I guess that's a new feature because we're partnered, that ads are now going to be running. It wasn't something that we had for affiliate. So if that's the case, I will try and do a better job here at actually running ads whenever we are whenever we wrap up a series. So we wrap up a series, and then we'll just like play an ad or something. So hopefully the ads aren't like in the middle of a game or in the middle of a best of 3. Ideally. So I'll try and stay on top of that as we are here in our PvP. In our first semifinals, predictions are going to be closed in a couple of seconds, so make sure you get your predictions going. As for now, double gate openers all around. So far, everything is looking as it should. 2 gateways here from Classic, 2 gateways from Nightmare. And the question becomes, what are our first units going to be? Do we go double Adept? Do we go double Stalker? How do we approach this? Thank you. It took us 6 years. It took us 6 years of casting every day. Not quite. It's a little bit facetious. It took us, what, 3 years of casting every day and 6 years of casting, and 3 more years behind that, casting like on a weekly basis or a couple of times a week. But we made it. We're partnered. Long time coming. Let's go. For those wondering, we started casting full-time at the start of COVID, so beginning of 2020. Before that, we would just cast over the weekend. We didn't really cast during the week itself, just because I was working full-time at the time, so I could only cast like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Back in 2019, 2018, and 2017, but here we go. The armies are going to be clashing. We did go double Stalker. Going to be clashing here in the center of the map, and so far, Nightmare does shoot first. Ooh, Stalker does go down, and he does get a couple of extra hits in, forcing a recall. Should not kill the second Stalker. Thankfully, it will escape, But a bit of a skirmish did go Nightmare's way. Behind this, we're getting to our expansions. We haven't rushed into any form of tech, no form of hyper-aggression from either player yet, as we end up going into sentries. And we have our tech of choice, Nightmare, going for a Twilight Council, as we can now focus on our game. So Twilight Council opener here from Nightmare. Likewise, tech of choice for Classic, also going to be a Twilight Council. So Blink on the way for both players. Stalkers are going to push on forward. Be threatening that natural waste, forcing out some, oh my god, some force fields a bit prematurely. Classic trigger happy there. And these force fields, obviously it means that we don't have force fields for the next fight, but also we don't have hallucinations to actually get a read on what's going on. Classic actually hasn't seen the Twilight Council yet. He doesn't know what his opponent is doing. There we go. He warps in a third sentry, so he will have a hallucination. That is a bit of a waste of resources to have to get another one, but it is going to keep him safe. Safe and secure. His hallucinations are moving out. Again, we can see that nothing crazy is going on, but they still need to confirm that themselves. As hallucination is going to be coming in for Nightmare. We should be seeing a hallucination soon from Classic as well. He's waiting to get enough energy on that sentry. When you warp them in, they do not have enough for a hallucination, and there we go. It's on the way. Is going to be on the way. Likewise, Nightmare also gets a full scout. He does confirm the Twilight Council, sees it researching, is aware of Blink. Likewise, so is Classic. There we go. As Classic heads into the main base, counts the pylons, and does see the researching Twilight Council as well. So everyone knows that everything is as it should be. Both players are going to be expanding. They both know it is safe to take a third. So third bases are on the way. Classic just vying for map control. And the game is going to be settling down from here. We're settling down. Settling down. And usually Korean PvP, like, it's usually just action-packed from the beginning, but yeah, for the first time in a long time, this PvP is just kind of easing in towards the mid-game. The map also plays into this. Alkyone has a longer rush distance by ground, has a lot of bases to take. You can be very defensive on 3 and then 4 bases. It's very difficult to be too aggressive in the mid-game. So, yeah, we're getting a little bit more out of these two. Which is more than I can say out of the last series that we had. Like, Dark versus Classic, that was a quick one, Bobby. That was a quick one. It ended before it really began. Here we go. Classic is moving out. Again, he's just threatening a push. I don't think he really wants to commit. Looking at the army values here, they are actually quite similar to each other. Hallucination confirms. Charge is on the way. As there's another upgrade researching. The Forge is a saturation on the third. Classic is going to be threatening a push towards that third base of Nightmare. But Nightmare's in position. Doesn't really lose much of anything. Classic is forced back. And here are our gateway explosions for both players. Gateway explosion for Classic and Nightmare. Getting into a very gateway heavy composition. A swarm toss style, if you will, just blink stalkers and charge lots. We haven't taken up into Archons yet, but Archons, they should be next, or they should be the next step here for both players. As Classic is going to be taking the initiative and he takes the gold. Gold base has been taken. Nightmare going for a standard 4th base. Up. And Nightmare, he does see the pylon. He knows. The pylon, the positioning of the army. Nightmare, he hasn't seen the base itself, but very suspect. And suddenly, there's going to be a lot of pressure on Nightmare to make some magic happen here. Now, Classic is teching. He's getting a 4th base. He's going into a Templar Archives for Archons. Meanwhile, Nightmare is taking a 4th and getting a Prism to push out. So again, Nightmare is the aggressor. Classic going to be the defender. Shield batteries are on the way. Oh, can Classic bypass this army? It looks like he's coming in from the right-hand side. Classic a bit out of position. Uh-oh. Observer will confirm this. And Nightmare, he dives in. He's aware that Classic is not where he should be. He gets on top of the base. Pylon goes down, denies the warp in, and we will force a cancel on this Nexus. We're trying to. We are attempting to go for a big warping as well. The Zealots do collapse on top of the army. Shield battery is depowered. And it, not just the base, but also can we get on top of the army? This Nightmare is snowballing out of control. He dives on top of the Immortal. One Immortal goes down. Second Immortal will go down as well. Just too many losses too quickly for Classic. This is not a fight that he can take. He had to save the base. GG gets called. And in one swift move, Nightmare takes game one. GG. GG, well played. Things were pretty passive. Things were very macro-oriented to begin with. And then everything suddenly changed. Then, of course, Nightmare saw the goal base, had to do something about it. And sometimes all it takes in a mirror matchup especially is to be out of position. Is to be caught out of position. Classic, he missed the army, barely missed it with, remember, just before Nightmare pushed out, we had two hallucinations. We had some hallucinated phoenixes. Oh my god. We saw some hallucinated phoenixes move out as Did everyone in here? Are we missing casters? I guess we are. I didn't realize. I guess, okay, never mind. It looks like most casters went to the upper semis. But yeah, we're getting into game number 2. But again, the hallucinated scout, so unfortunate that it barely missed the army. Classic didn't know where his opponent was coming from, was caught on the wrong side of the wall, the wrong side of the base, and yeah, that was just a really awkward fight, really awkward engagement for Nightmare. The concave was real. Sorry, for Classic. The concave was real. And now we're getting into game number 2, and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Hard Lead, we have the South Korean Protoss representing Matcherino Esports. It is Nightmare. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss. We have the red Protoss representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. Here we go. And yeah, when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the last game, it was pretty even and pretty neck and neck for the majority of the game. Honestly, things were quite close, and it just came down to Nightmare out-positioning Classic. Like, one wrong move, and it was over then and there. I guess it wasn't just out-positioning, but also the fact that Classic committed to the fight. That's maybe where we can put a little bit more fault here on Classic in that last game, where he was caught out of position. He did have a really hard time engaging at his gold, and he decided to fight then and there, and it was just not a good fight for him. It was just really awkward. The SimCity working against Classic. Nightmare had the concave. He had such good surface area on the base and the army as well, and yeah, it was just it just very quickly snowballed out of control in favor of Nightmare. But now we're, putting that past us, and now we're getting into game number 2 in this series. Nightmare, of course, needs one more Onomas to take it all, and Classic needs to fight back here and now to force the ace match. Once again, 2 gate openers. 2 gate openers all around. Classic does hide his second pylon. Nightmare sees that. He goes into the main. He does notice that the second pylon is missing. And there could be a proxy, there could not be. Nightmare doesn't know. As back at home, Nightmare just has a second pylon in his main. He's not, really playing around with mind games too much. Probe of Classic is making its way across the map. And yeah, Nightmare, he has to scout. He has to send a second probe. And this is already damage. This is already damage being done. That is one probe that isn't mining, one extra probe that isn't mining here for Nightmare. But he comes across the pylon. The first probe does scout the pylon. Now Nightmare knows that there's nothing on the map. He can come back home. He can go back to mining. So technically, Classic is slightly ahead in the economy. You can see that reflected in the resources. We haven't expanded yet either. As Nightmare essentially had one extra probe that just wasn't doing anything for a while because it was scouting. There it is. Base is being taken. Classic does have a slightly faster natural. Nightmare a little bit behind. And again, it may not look like a lot, but in a mirror matchup, two extra probes that aren't mining, it's a big deal. That is a big deal as we have the Hallucination Scout coming towards the main. We see Classic did go for some extra sentries here. Meanwhile, we made extra Stalkers instead, so Nightmare has a little bit more firepower, but he's not really doing much with it. He's just chilling here in the center of the map. Oracle's going to be coming in, looking to force an overreaction, as it's a hallucinated Oracle instead of a Phoenix. And won't really force a reaction, does at least confirm everything that we see. Didn't see the tech, once again Twilight Council from both players, both Nightmare and Classic. And Nightmare is pushing, has a proxy pylon out of the map. Nightmare, he does have additional Stalkers, but he's pushing into these sentries. We have a shield battery, overcharge, and force fields. Push in, we get one. We get one, we try to get a second, we barely do get it as well through the overcharge. Get a third. Get the hell out of there. We tried to, but that was quite a number of losses. Looking at the units lost tab here, that was 3 sentries for 3 Stalkers. Oof, a rough trade for Nightmare. But, I mean, I would say this is a rough trade just because Stalkers have a lot of value, but taking down the sentries means that Classic is in the dark, and we go straight for a Dark Shrine. I love it. I do love it here. Basically, Nightmare, he made sure that there was no scout. There is no scouting for Classic. It goes straight for the tech. Ooh, gonna be losing another one of those Stalkers. Threading a shade into that mineral line, forcing back his opponent. Pylon is gonna go down. Classic is taking a third base. Robo on the way. That was close. If we had delayed this Robo any longer, then we may not have detection in time for the Dark Templar. Thankfully, it's on the way. We should have an observer now. What's important is that the first observer typically does move out across the map, which means the detection may not be at home when the DTs hit. We may have to recall the observer back home instead, depending on the timing. A lot of this will come down to the timing of the observer, the positioning, and when the DTs do get into the mineral lines. Depth is going to go down. Nightmare still a little bit in the dark. Here we go, the Dark Templar on the way. Robo just now finishing up. These DTs, they will kill some workers, but there should be detection at home. And there it is. It's rallied outside the natural. The Stalkers are moving out, though. Even if we have detection, the army's out of position. Uh-oh. That's going straight for the natural base. Meanwhile, back at home, Nightmare, he can hold here. He's down a base, but he is up with a shield battery, with an overcharge. And probes are going down. Oof. There we go, 7, 9, oh my god. 9 probes going down at the same time. Classic tries to push in, but is punished for it. Is going to be forced back. And 9 workers is good, but Classic does have a third. And Nightmares just now gets thrown down. So that was a good amount of damage, is what I will say. Like, 10 workers, it's not negligible. But Nightmare, he still has some catching up to do, and there's still a lot of pressure on him. He's slightly ahead in Stalkers. Upgrades are even, there's no +1 for anyone. And Proxy Gateway, he knows that he needs to get more done. He saw how late he was when it comes to his third base timing. He needs to make something happen here. He's going to get at least a pylon, a probe even. Not quite. Doesn't get the probe. He's going to be trading with the army. He is ahead in Stalkers. Pylon gets the worker in the end. Looking at the units tab, Classic is able to keep up. Still slightly behind overall in Stalkers, but with a shield battery, with an overcharge, he can hold. So far though, the blinks are looking good. Blinks are looking good here for Nightmare. Oh! Bleeding out one of his Stalkers, going for another warp in behind this. As this is happening, he's taking his third, catching back up. God, and that base is taking a lot of hits. Oh my god. The overcharge barely keeping it alive. Bearing in mind that the overcharge is being spent on the base, not on the Stalkers. But out comes the Immortal, the first one. And that should force Nightmare back. That should. Overcharge has now run out. Has run out, and Nightmare, he just keeps trying to push in, trying to force the issue, picking up whatever he can. He will get a Zealot. He's just not stopping. Just not stopping here. God, that base is so low. It's tempting, right? It's so tempting to get like 2 volleys. 2 volleys on this Nexus. Instead he goes for the army. Gets a Stalker. 1 for 1. Zealots are on the way. Charge is done, by the way. He's looking to pull the trigger. Oh my god. He's maybe hoping to force his opponent to overextend. And here we go. The Zealots are coming in. The Zealots, they do charge forward. We dive on top of the Immortals. The first one is going to go down. Oh, not quite the second. Are we overextending? A bit of an overextension there from Nightmare, but he will get on top of the Immortals. Both of them go down. The shield battery as well. Boys are being pulled. More Zealots are on the way. We need them. But Classic, he takes a massive Stalker lead. And Nightmare is going to have to back off. Oh, he's going to lose so much here in the retreat. Now, a lot of Stalkers do go down. We have another warping of Zealots as well. The boys, they're being pulled into Zealots. Nightmare, can he hold on? Can he take this? It looks like he cannot. Again, the earlier dive was ambitious. Does get a lot of workers though, and these Zealots, oh my god, they're doing so well tanking. As Nightmare, he does take an economic lead. He does have better saturation at the third base, but he is down in Stalkers. No shield battery. No shield battery back at home, but Classic doesn't chase. Classic, he's ahead in Stalkers, but he's waiting for his reinforcements. DT comes in. He's going to get shut down. And even though Nightmare didn't kill his opponent, he's able to take an economic lead. He's down when it comes to Immortals, but he does have charge. And I do favor Stalker charge lot over Stalker Immortal. I do think that Nightmare has a lot of potential with this army, but he doesn't have a lot of longevity. Now, what else is scary? No Forge. No Forge, no upgrades. +2 is on the way for Classic. As the game goes on, Classic's army is going to get stronger and stronger. This was basically an all-in out of Nightmare. He was hoping to at least reset the army or kill the third base or both and just end the game. Nightmare didn't achieve any of that, and just now he's throwing down a Robo. Again, still no Forge. He is on a timer, at least it feels that way. And Classic is catching up. He's catching up in workers, exceeding his opponent in army, and just getting further ahead. That was close though. Like, I did like initially the push from Nightmare. I did like the timing with all those banked up chargelets as well, but the way that he dove on the army, especially against the overcharge, yeah, that was not it. Behind this, fourth base is on the way. Classic going to be rotating over. Again, Classic, he's not just ahead when it comes to the quality of his army, but now he's going to be ahead in bases and economy. Charge is finishing up, so now we're even in upgrades, or Classic's just strictly ahead. Armies are going to be clashing. We are ahead in Stalkers. But Nightmare is pushing into Immortals. The Zealots are going to be clashing again. Nightmare, he's pretty all in with this. Hallucinated the Stalkers. Can they take some shots? They will. He's doing the best he can to try to break through. But the Zealots, they get on top of the army. The Immortal doing so much here in the back line. And as the Zealots get cleaned up for both players, Nightmare, he's blinking his heart out. He's doing what he can, but pushing up a ramp into Immortals, into now these reinforcing Zealots as well. He cannot break through. Almost did. That was a close fight, all things considered. But the one hero Immortal survives through all of that. Pushes through, forces Nightmare back. GG gets called, and Classic will take game number 2. We have an ace match. GG. GG, well played. Again, things went down to the wire there. Nightmare, he almost broke Classic at the third base. He was almost able to kill him with that charge timing with the all-in. Alas, barely. Didn't kill the army, and didn't kill the economy either. We needed something to go right there, either killing the third base or killing the entire army of Classic. Alas, wasn't able to pull it off, and with that, we have a game 3. We have an ace match. Let's go. Let us go. Meanwhile, it looks like the upper semifinals is their mid-series, so either in Game 2 or Game 3. Again, that's being covered by CranKy, by Into the Inu in Korean, by some of the other casters. And we have our third map. It is going to be on Hecate. Let's go. Here we go. We're loading on in. Again, not too sure as to... I mean, I guess now we know the vetoes were. Just check your things, making sure everything is okay. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have our South Korean Protoss player representing Maturino Esports. It is Nightmare. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the other South Korean player, the red player, representing Twisted Minds. It is Classic. Here we go. And what's important is that in the early game, we haven't really seen too much aggression here between our players, but Nightmare already popped. Oh my god. Nightmare doing his best Max Pax impression. Okay, I see you. He heard us say, like, mate, the openers have been standard. They've been pretty dull. Nah, not anymore. Low ground gateway here from Nightmare. He is threatening to go for a gate expand, a very economic, greedy opener on Hecate, and this may trigger an all-in out of Classic. Classic is coming in with a probe scout, and he will get eyes on the gateway on the low ground. He is aware. He does see. He does know. And it is going to be on Classic to decide, does he play from behind or does he try to punish this? Now, just because Nightmare looks like he's going for a gate expand, he himself could even go for an all-in off of this. We have seen that before as well, where you just don't throw down the Nexus, you force back the probe and you throw down additional gateways to Robo and you just go all in. So I am curious. Those wondering the reason why I bring this up, it is by law amongst Protoss players that on a map where you don't have a ramp coming into the natural, it is illegal. It is illegal to go for a gate expand. It is not allowed in the map pool. Currently, only Radisson Station and Site Delta are permitted to go for gate expands. And if you try to do something like this on a map like Hecate or a map like Alkyone, where there is no ramp leading into the natural, that typically does result in a one base all-in from the opposing player. Because you don't have a point of elevation, because you don't have high ground, it is very difficult to defend. My eyes are on this probe. This is looking like a proxy Stargate position, but we'll see if he throws down a Robo. See if he throws down a Robo instead. We can see Nightmare trying to get a read on what's going on. It is going to be a double Stalker opener here out of Classic. He's going to be pylon blocking. He forces out a Zealots. Going to be delaying the expansion. And Nightmare did open up double gas, so he's going for a faster Stargate. And there it is, a Stargate from Classic. So he is proxying, but this is not an all-in. Oh, never mind. Never mind, Bobby, never mind. So a proxy Stargate typically indicates that we're being aggressive economically, where we get an Oracle, we get into the mineral line, and we kill probes. Anything other than a proxy Stargate, like a Robo and a Gateway, yep, there it is, this is an all-in. This is an all-in from Classic. As he changes his mind, we do see Nightmare aware of this, going for a Void Ray first. Very wise choice. Those wondering, Void Rays in PvP are typically only used defensively in the early game. If you go for a Stargate opener, they do very well. They're almost like Immortals. Almost. They're not as strong, but well, close enough. Where they can just focus down Stalkers and focus down Warp Prisms as well, in case it was a proxy Robo. So defensively, here in the early game, Nightmare does have to rely on his Void Rays. They are going to be the backbone of his army. As Twilight Council is done, and we should be going for one base Blink, question mark, 2 gateways back at home, 1 gateway across the map. There it is, Blink is on the way. I will say that this is a little bit delayed because we started the Stargate and then cancelled, so this is late by a few seconds, and a few seconds can mean everything in StarCraft. Nightmare, he's looking for the army. He's going out of position. Uh-oh. The natural base is exposed, and okay, we are able to keep up. A couple of volleys come in, but nothing too major, as Nightmare does force Classic back. Second Void Ray comes out. Third Void Ray is on the way. Again, this early on, when you only have 1 gateway, you need to make as much as you can out of the Stargate. Second gateway's finishing here for Nightmare. Meanwhile, Blink is halfway done. And with this sentry, we will have high ground vision. Very important. Something that MaxPax is so good at, if he reads that you're all-inning him, MaxPax will get a second shield battery in the main. 1 in the natural, 1 in the main base. This main is looking very exposed. So, Classic, he is looking to bypass this defensive setup. We have a second shield battery at the natural. This is not going to help. Not when we go into the main base instead. So I'm a little bit concerned that Nightmare hasn't pieced this together. I'm concerned that he doesn't realize how vulnerable he is. And we'll see how this does turn out as Nightmare, he just dives on top of the army. First Void Ray goes down, but Prismatic Alignment has to be respected, and Classic is being forced all the way back. A very aggressive position here, and oh, we're coming in too soon! Classic's gonna lose everything! The Stalkers are going down one after the other. And it looks like Nightmare, he shuts this down before Blink kicks in. Yeah, the Stalkers, they fall one after the other. We have 4 Stalkers left. We're down to 2. This proxy location will stay powered, but Nightmare doesn't care. He may have lost all of his Void Rays, but we have more on the way, and he completely just shut down the army before Classic could really get going. And now Classic is on the back foot. Now Nightmare can go for his own counterattack, and what is there at home to defend? A handful of Stalkers. Nightmare now with so much momentum. Also, remember how I said that every second counts? Blink finished after that fight ended. If we hadn't dabbled in the Stargate first, it may be possible that Blink would have finished up in time for that fight. And we could have had like maybe a better engagement there from Classic if we hadn't just like switched gears at the last minute earlier. It's possible, as we do have Nightmare diving into the main base, getting a probe. Up. Could it be a bit of an overextension actually here from Nightmare? Oh my god, getting surrounded, losing 2 more Stalkers, racing back home. Nightmare though, he's still ahead economy. Like, the economy is booming, Papi. Back at home, Classic, still on 1 base. Proxy location gets shut down. Classic, he's down to 2 gateways, can only warp in 2 units at a time. Gateway is going to go down. And Classic is going to be pushing towards that natural. He's all in, it's all or nothing here for Classic. There's a world where maybe he can catch the army out of position. But we have 3 shield batteries. 3 pylons. No Artosis pylon, not here. Sentry's coming in. Classic, his last-ditch effort is to blink into the main. It's his final chance here. But even then, I don't know if I'm convinced. Across the map, a couple of reps, they shade into the mineral line. 3 workers go down. We get a 4th. We don't quite get a 5th. Good blinks. Good blinks out of Classic. Does shave off a couple of those Stalkers. Oh, losing one of his own. Is bleeding out a couple of Stalkers here in the retreat as well. The sentry's still in position. Gateway, or at least the Twilight Council, has been repowered so we can go for these slow warp-ins. Again, for those wondering, sentry means we can get a hallucination, which means we get high ground vision, which means we can blink into the main, and it looks like that's what we're going for. So that's going to be like the best fight the Classic can hope for, because he will be fighting out of range of all these shield batteries and the overcharge. But I mean, it isn't just Stalker Void Ray anymore. We've got Immortals. 1 Immortal, soon to be 2 Immortals. Twilight Council's on the way so we can catch up and blink. And here we go. We got to go for it. We got to just send it, Babby. We will take down the pylon. The hallucination is forced back. Oof. I'm sure Nightmare now a little bit more wary. Could end up throwing down some side defense here as a result. As Classic rotates towards the natural base, gets the Cyber Core. Not too bad. Cybercore does go down. We can't warp in any more Stalkers. When it comes to the Stalker count, Classic is ahead. Classic, he does have more Stalkers than his opponent. Oh, as he tries to get the Immortal. So it's a good start. Don't get me wrong, it is a good start to snipe the Cybercore. And if only this was a gold base. If only we had a gold base here. If this was a full gold, then maybe Classic could try to take a ninja. It does blink into the main. We take down the Void Ray. We take down some of the Immortals as well. Good target firing coming in from Classic, but he's bleeding out so much. Gets every single Void Ray, every single Immortal. Good pickoffs. Really good snipes here from Classic, but he's being forced back. I'm saying, like, if we were on Golden Aura or if we were on Alcyone, then we could expand and take a gold, but it's only half a gold base here, so it's not anywhere near as lucrative. Otherwise, there could have been another way to come back in this game. Or Royal Blood would have been a better example of that. As Classic did reset all the high-tech units, but in a head-to-head fight, Blink is done for Nightmare. He can dive on the army. This is all that Nightmare was waiting for Blink. GG gets called, and Nightmare, with the upsets tonight, he takes down Solar and he takes down Classic, advancing on to the grand finals. GG. Let's go. GG, well played. Vámonos, papi, vámonos. As Nightmare will take it in the end, taking down not just Classic, but also Solar as well. Do love to see it. Really well done. Really well played here from Nightmare. Just popping off today. Unfortunately, we missed out on Nightmare versus Solar, so I don't know how he brought him down, but it was a 2-0, so a dominant performance nonetheless. Bearing in mind that Solar is currently peaking in skill. He is the most recent GSL champion. So Nightmare, he's flexing his skill against Protoss, against Zerg. But what about Terran? Oh, it doesn't matter. I was gonna start like theorizing like this like scenario where like up next is Gumiho, you know, the ESL Master Summer runner-up. Exclamation mark B. Exclamation mark B in the chat if you guys want to have a look at the bracket yourselves. Let me just move the bracket over so we can all, there we go, all have a better look. As you can see, upper semifinals has concluded and Hero took down Gumiho 2-0. Nightmare will not have to face off against a Terran. It's going to be another PvP. Doesn't get easier. He took down Classic, but up next is Hero. It's going to be Nightmare versus Hero in a best of 5 PvP finals for the KSL. Let me just set that up. Predictions will be set up as well. And we will soon go on a break. Here we go. Also, if you're in the chat, I see a lot of Koreans in the chat, and I'm going to have to go through all those translations just because, just to make sure that everything is looking as it should. But this is an English stream, English cast, so I would ask you to keep things to the English language. Por favor, papi, por favor. As we're going to be going on a short break, when we return, Grand Finals will soon be upon us. See you soon. And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the Grand Finals. Los Grand Finales here of KSL, the Korean StarCraft League, week number 34. If you're in the chat, predictions are now open, so place your bets on who you think is going to be this week's KSL champion. Will it be Hero? Will it be Nightmare? Up to you to decide. As spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Protoss player, the Red Protoss, representing Maturino Esports. It is Nightmare. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss, representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Hero. It all comes down to this, the final series of this tournament, not of the day. We were casting ESL Americas this morning. But we were live with ESL Americas this morning. We have GPO later on tonight, and we have, of course, outside of GPO, we already have ESL Masters at WTL. Oh my god, we have WTL tonight as well. So KSL into Grand Platypus Open, into World Team League, into ESL Masters Americas. So back to back to back to back broadcasts. We're still not even halfway through. Aha, beautiful. As we see Hero doing his own best max impression, going for a gate expand into a cyber core. Very economic here from Hero. Meanwhile, Nightmare back at home. Oh, did he kill the probe? He did! He killed the probe! Let's go! The worker did go down across the map, so nice damage here from Nightmare, but of course he does see that his opponent is already expanding. This wasn't even greedy opener, it was a gate expand, not gate cyber expand, so really greedy stuff here out of Hero. Nightmare going for his own expansion back at home, going for his own single gate opener. So, economic here, all around. Let's go. Let us go. Sorry, I'm just trying to sort something out. But yeah, both players just rushing to their economy. Very stark contrast to what we did see as well. As we are getting into this, and un momento. Save. Alright, we're good. As Hero again going for something economic, Nightmare as well. So the game is going to be settling down here in the early game. We do have a Stargate opener from both players. Phoenix first here from Nightmare. We'll see if Hero reciprocates, as Hero has not scouted the tech. He's not aware of what is going on. Not quite fully aware of whether there's a Stargate or a Twilight Council on the way. I'm just sending some screenshots to one of our lovely Korean admins. Ah, beautiful. Do love it to see it, as yeah, the Phoenix is going to be moving out across said map. Back at home, we have an Oracle first out of Hero. Unfortunate here for the Oracle to be coming out, because again, there are Phoenixes, plenty of them out on the field. It's going to be difficult for Hero to actually get across enough to deal any economic damage himself. Phoenixes have been spotted by the Adepts. It's going to be on Hero to try to find that damage. Being very active here, dragging these Phoenixes out of position. As the Phoenixes are revealed here on the left-hand side, we have the Oracle moving in on the right. Looking to bypass the army. Oh, the recall! Oh, will save the Stalkers in the end. Oracle diving into the natural base. The Phoenixes, they were out of position. One probe goes down, but only one. And we just recalled, which means this Oracle is going to go down. So Nightmare, he now takes map control away from Hero across the map. We tried to go into our own Phoenixes. It looks like we're transitioning into a ground army with Blink on the way. Twilight Council is done. And Hero is contained to 2 bases. Up. Gonna be threatening a dive, and we get the Phoenix as well. A lot of losses here from Hero. He's stuck on these 2 bases. Nightmare, he is free to expand, and so far he isn't quite yet. I would love to see a 3rd base here from Nightmare, being aware that Hero is contained to 2 bases. That's even a full wall off as well. Adepts cannot make it in. Oh, hello, Kronos. Predictions are they not open? Predictions have already closed. They've already closed. You were too late. Predictions have already closed in the chat for this series. They were open at the start. As for now, again, Hero is going to be contained. There we go. Nightmare now going to be moving out with his probe to eventually expand and take that third. Blink Stalkers on the way from both players. Adepts will be threatening a shade. They almost make it in. Now, I do think that Nightmare could have taken advantage of this third a lot faster. He does kill a probe, but Hero getting a third base on par with his opponent is pretty huge. Does mean that more or less the players are on even footing. Even Hero slightly ahead with those extra workers. And the game is going to be settling from here. As Nightmare, he's going to be rotating back around. Looking at the units tab, Nightmare, he is slightly behind in Stalkers. He has Phoenixes, which will add a little bit of complexity to his army. But he does have to be very wary of how he does rotate around. Hero going to be threatening to come in from behind even. Yeah, as Nightmare, he has arrived. He wants to try to punish his third base, try to contain Hero to 2 bases. Here comes the surround. Okay, he dives on the army. He's going to get 1, going to get 2 Stalkers already. Oh, and this is going to be a rough fight, a rough engagement here for Nightmare. He gets surrounded, completely shut down. Hero just waiting for the opportune moment, and so many Stalkers fall. Ay, ay, ay. The engagement was insane. At the same time, Nightmare tried to go for some Adept harass, but Hero was in position. He shuts down the Adepts, and Nightmare loses a lot of momentum. Again, he's down to 9 Stalkers compared to the 16 of Hero. At the same time, Hero, he's building up towards Immortals, +1, charge. Nightmare is slightly ahead in those upgrades, so we'll have a slightly stronger timing here from Nightmare. But Hero, he's actually taking up even further, going for a Templar Archives. Now, Templar Archives will complicate things. With the introduction of Archons, Zealots are not anywhere near as aggressive. Sorry, Zealots, they aren't anywhere near as effective in these engagements. Archons will shut them down, depending on the positioning. And the game is settling once again. As both players just focusing on just getting their bases saturated. Hero slightly ahead in tech with the Archons, and there we go. 2 Archons are on the way. Meanwhile, Nightmare, he's going for a Swarm Toss composition. We've seen this before. We saw this against Classic, where Nightmare, he relies on Zealots and Stalkers more than anything. No Immortals, no Archons, no Disruptors. Just a pure gateway composition instead. Now, to afford this, we skip the gases. We can see that Hero, he's taken all 6. He's getting a 4th base. So is Nightmare. But Nightmare just staying on a lower gas count, relying a lot more heavily here on Zealots. Also, because he hasn't taken these gases, he isn't taking anytime soon. Doesn't have the gas for it. And here we go. Hero is pushing. Nightmare, he now throws down a Templar Archives. Should be taking these gases soon as well. But Hero's hitting first. He's moving out. So is Nightmare. We could end up in a weird base trade. Recalls are available for both players. They can both turn back around. Nightmare, he does turn back into his natural base. Caught here mid-height, almost on the low ground even. Yeah, the Archons are moving on forward. Zealots, they do close the distance. They're getting on top of some of these Stalkers. But the Archons, they go to town. They take down the Zealots. Only Stalkers remain. We dive on top of the army, and this is just becoming far too much. Hero snowballing out of control. +2 did not kick in for Nightmare. The Immortals behind this just going ham. And Nightmare, he can't really engage, not anymore. Just too much of a deficit. The boys are being pulled into Archons. No! The Archon taking every single probe down. A bit of a desperation move. GG gets called, and Hero will take game number 1. GG. Again, I'm sorry for being a little bit distracted at the start of the game, but regardless, GG, well played, congratulations. Hero will take the first game. Nightmare, unfortunately, was one step behind after losing his army. When Nightmare tried to punish the third base of Hero, he was just lured in. Hero got a surround, cleaned everything up, and from that moment, Hero was in the driver's seat. Up until that, Nightmare had potential, especially with the Phoenix opener. There was definitely potential there for Nightmare, but again, I don't think he was able to fully capitalize on his map control. I don't think he was able to, really capitalize on just his position of having control of the skies, control of the ground, containing his opponent. Third bases were pretty comparable to each other. And now we're getting into game number 2. Game número 2. I predict a toss will win. Yo, CJ, he knows, Bobby, he knows. Is this the final? Yeah. Finals, Bobby, finals. Here we go. Spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have our South Korean Protoss, representing Matcherino Esports, down in the series, but it's a best of 5. We can fight back. It is Nightmare. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss, representing CranKy Gaming. It is Hero. Once again, going for the low ground expand, and so is Nightmare. I love it. I'm curious if this is where the meta is going to start shifting. I know that currently in the map pool, it's very unsafe to do this, but we have a gate expand versus a gate expand. Does anyone go all in? Does anyone risk it here and commit to an all in, or are we going to be seeing an economic opener from both sides? I'm ready for it. I'm excited for it. Today will be Cast Marathon. Oh no. Will be a marathon back. But now both players are just being as annoying as possible, delaying the expansions. And this could lead in a couple of different directions, as Hero is just bullying that probe out of the natural base. Not allowing it to come back in. Both players have taken their gases. Both players are going for the Cybercore first. With their gases being taken, this should be leading into a Stargate. Now, whether it's before or after the Nexus, yet to be determined. Up! As the pylon is thrown down, Zealots are being forced out. And this should be Stargates. And as a result, if both players throw down Stargates, then we could end up in Phoenix Wars. Which is something that does occur in PvP. There it is, Stargate thrown down for Hero, Stargate thrown down for his opponent, the Nightmare. Hero, he lost his probe he doesn't see, meanwhile Nightmare does see the Stargate. So if Hero was aware of the Stargate opener of his opponent, then we should be getting Phoenix versus Phoenix, but because Hero doesn't know, he may go for an Oracle instead, and he will be punished for it. Will be punished. If he opts to go for that Oracle. For now, expansions are going to be on the way, and we're going to be locked into Phoenix Wars. It's possible. Not the first time we've casted Phoenix Wars this week. Yeah, again, it is, I wouldn't say a common thing, but it's definitely something that we see in PvP from time to time. As we do have a Phoenix out of Hero and an Oracle first from Nightmare. Bold move. Nightmare is the one who had the information. Nightmare, he saw the Stargate. He still goes for an Oracle. Crazy. Adept makes it in. One probe goes down. Now, what I will say, as Adept shades away, is that because Nightmare is still adamant about going Oracle, we will not get into Phoenix versus Phoenix. We will not get into the Phoenix Wars that some people, of course, are not too fond of, fond of watching, as they aren't as exciting as other army compositions. Twilight Council's on the way. Nightmare, who wants to pivot away into Blink. Meanwhile, the first Phoenix is moving out. We have a second and a third on the way. Now, Hero, he did see the Oracle. He is aware of the Oracle, so he has to be wary of it. He has to stay back at home. Doesn't want to get caught out of position. He wants to be ready here. But when the Oracle moves out, does see it. He does spot it. Second Stargate on the way. Hero, he doesn't know about the blink. Hero is going double Stargate Phoenix. Anticipating this, that his opponent is doing the same. As we dive in, we go for a full scout as well. We see the additional gateways. And we see that blink is being researched. Now, does Hero commit to Phoenixes regardless? That's what I'm curious about. It looks like we are. We are committing to Phoenixes. Oh, Death back at home is going to be dealt with as well. Oh, there it is. We cancel. Okay, that's what I thought. Once Hero realizes that we're taking in a different direction, he cancels the second Stargate. Twilight Council's on the way. Hero, he will be behind with Blink. He'll be behind with his Blink timing. But he at least has map control with these Phoenixes. Phoenixes, they get across the map, going straight for the mineral line. Blink is not done, not yet. And Nightmare, he cannot keep up. Probes are falling one after the other. Oh my god. Full workers going down. Meanwhile, Nightmare setting up a proxy pylon. This is looking more and more like a 2-base all-in. There we go. We have 3 gates in the main, 1 gate here at the natural, 1 gate across the map, 5 gates in total. And Nightmare, he's just going to send it. He's looking to kill Hero here and now with the blink timing. Hero back at home has a shield battery. He's getting into Immortal production. He knows he's behind when it comes to blink. He needs Immortals desperately. Even a Dark Shrine on the way. Nightmare doesn't have detection. He's pushing in. Oh no, Toast's Pylon. Pylon powering so much. Stargate is exposed. It's all or nothing for Nightmare. Hero, the first Immortal does pop out. We're not going for Void Rays. Dark Shrine's about to finish, and a Dark Shrine will or may just end the game. To be fair, there's no way to warp in across the map, so the DTs are going to have to be defensive. Oh, the Cybercore! Ooh, Cybercore will go down as well. And we dive on the army. A lot of Phoenixes are being picked up. Boys are being pulled as well. The Immortal does pull back to the shield battery, to the overcharge, and it barely survives. The Immortal doesn't die. Oh my god. The Immortal refuses to go down. And finally it will fall, but a second Immortal arrives and Nightmare gets cleaned up. We have reinforcements. We have additional reinforcements on the way. A lot of workers are falling, but Nightmare's all in. Hero isn't. He can't afford to lose some workers. Nightmare, he backs off. He takes a third. Mate, that Immortal was crazy. It was insane just how many volleys it survived through. It did go down in the end, but did so much for Hero there. Tanking so many shots. Third base is going to be delayed. Fun fact, still no detection. No Robo. Now, there is a Stargate. You can make an Oracle, but DTs are coming. And this is brutal. No Oracle currently on the map. No Robo, no Forge. These Dark Templar may end it all. As Nightmare, he's still hyper-fixated on warping in across the map. Yeah, the DTs, they reveal themselves. Probes are going down. That's going to be a lot of economic damage. We have an Oracle on the way. Nightmare, he's going to try to get out of this. He's going to try to commit here to his push once again. We dive with the Immortals. One goes down. One Immortal goes down. A second Immortal as well. We have a third, though, coming out just in time, forcing Nightmare back. And Nightmare's economy is crippled. There's almost nothing back at home. 15 probes fall. Oracle comes out. Good revelation. Oh my god. We even get the pylon. The DT waddles away. And looking at the economy here, we have 29 probes against the 41 of Hero. Hero still doesn't have Blink, but he can still push out. He has map control. He has the stronger army. And Nightmare, he's got a lot of catching up to do. Nightmare has Blink. That's really all he has over Hero. That's all he can work with. No mining here in the main base. Imagine if Hero had 3 DTs. 1 for each mineral line. That would have been insane. 2 just cripples. Nightmare doesn't kill him. But Nightmare, he's still just on the back foot and looking for a way to recover. Now, when it comes to Nightmare's position, how do we come back? DTs, disruptors, maybe even out positioning. If we have Blink Stalkers, if we're able to catch Hero off guard, blink into the main base, for example, get some worker kills, depower some buildings, and recall back home. There are ways to come back in this game. It's just difficult, especially when you don't have map control. The problem is that Nightmare's stuck at home. He's being contained here. We have Phoenixes just making sure that there is no move out, that there is no 4th base. Like, Hero's just on top of everything. And Nightmare, he's just trying to come back in a much more robust way. You know, Zealots, Stalkers, like a straight up game here out of Nightmare. But here comes Hero. Here comes his army. Blink now done for both players. Here is pushing it towards that 3rd. Again, Nightmare, he was all in earlier, so recovering from an all in, especially after losing so many workers, is so difficult, and we dive on top of the army. Stalkers are going down. Overcharges pop. The force fields. Oh, my charge is not done. 5 seconds away. The Zealots go down. And Hero, he can just wait out that overcharge and keep on pushing. Takes down the gateway. Takes down the cyber core as well, potentially. Oh, good target firing. Prism falls. Good pickup. The boys are being pulled. We go for a full surround. But we just barely have a standing army. The boys are going down one after the other. 28 workers fall. GG gets called, and Hero will take a 2-0 lead in this series. GG. GG, well played. Shield battery has changed this game. Yeah, I mean, that shield battery was crazy. The MVP, I was gonna say that the MVP for Hero was the Immortal. Really, it was the shield battery, the overcharge, keeping that Immortal alive. It took like 4 volleys to kill the Immortal. That is so much DPS in a way wasted on the Immortal. And when Nightmare was all in, that was crucial. That was a crucial moment. Nightmare, he was on 2 bases. He was looking to end the game then and there. And he just barely could not break Hero. GG. Bad joke of the day. This must seem like a bad dream for Nightmare. Awful, awful. You're an animal, Pop. You're an animal. I say, good night, Slowbro, good night. Buenas noches, buenas noches. I know it's very late. It's very late in North America. So if you happen to be in North America, hope you get plenty of rest. If you're in the chat, don't stay up too late. We're almost done with the finals. So maybe stick around for that, but get plenty of rest here as we're getting into our weekend. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner of Hecate, we have the South Korean Protoss player representing Matcherino Esports. Down in this series, he needs to fight back here and now. It is Nightmare. And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player representing CranKy Z Gaming. It is Hero. Hero wants both players once again going for gate expand. I love this. Going for these low ground gate expands. I do feel like, so it was I think a week ago when we saw some of the Koreans embrace this a little bit more. It looks like everyone has finally recognized, especially in this map pool where there are very few ramps leading into the natural. It's like, you know what? Maybe MaxPax was right all along. For years now, MaxPax was the only player to do this, the only player to consistently go for gate expands on the low ground. And now finally, after what, 2-3 years, the rest of the scene is catching on. The rest of the scene, the Koreans at least, are embracing this more economic greedy opener that MaxPax has been doing for so long, and they're doing it themselves. It feels good. This is progress. This is the evolution of PvP. Of course, Max Pax is always one step ahead, definitely, but now everyone's catching up. Everyone is catching on. So gate expand here from Hero. Nightmare going for a Cyber Core first. This is why Hero's expansion is that much earlier. It was before the Cyber Core. Nightmare instead, likewise also a single gas. Nightmare instead went double gas into Cyber Core, and his expansion is going to be later. Now, because Nightmare has this additional gas, he could go for an all-in. Nightmare, he doesn't have to expand. He could go for an all-in as a response. Pylon is thrown down. Probe is getting in position. Are we going to throw down the shield battery? Up! Up! Ooh, no, we cancel. Cancel the Pylon. No shield battery here from Nightmare. Still no expansion. And here we go. It is going to be a Stargate opener here from Hero. There it is, expansion finally on the way. So Nightmare is not going for a one base all-in. It looked like he may, but is going to be expanding. And Hero's taking this seriously. Shield battery's on the way. Like, Hero, he hasn't seen the base. He doesn't know what's going on. He needs to find out. Here comes the hallucination. Oh, sorry, the Shade, the Adept. Likewise, Nightmare pushing across the map. Adept shades in, and Hero should have seen the base. But he sees the lack of tech. There's a Stargate on the way. He should feel safe. Seeing the Stargate especially, like, that screams macro play. Across the map, Nightmare trying to break in, but the wall is looking solid. And Hero does confirm the expansion. Oh my god, not just the expansion, 3 probes go down! This should not have happened, but there was only one Stalker back at home. Hero with his control does get quite a lot done here. That's a late expansion. 3 probes going down, but Nightmare, he goes for the Pylon in the main base, but it gets scouted! It gets found out. The probe goes down, the Pylon will fall as well. Nightmare just trying to whip out every trick in the book, but it's not working. Not against Hero. Hero, he is the best Protoss in Korea. One of the best in the world, and he will shut this down. Behind this, we're taking up into a Twilight Council. Am I crazy? Nightmare. This is a little bit desperate. Fun fact, no, the Oracle's coming in. Nightmare, he went for a Stargate opener. Nightmare didn't make anything out of the Stargate. The Oracle comes in, gets eyes on the Dark Shrine. Probes are going down. Hero sees everything in the main. Oracle's going to be zoned away. Could even go down, but the Revelation just confirms it. Forcing a... God. Not like this. So Nightmare, he's down in economy, he's behind in tech, went for a Stargate, didn't make use of it, forced to cancel the Dark Shrine, now getting into Blink, but this is a very late Blink here, out of Nightmare. Back at home, Hero, he throws down additional shield batteries, just in case. He knows how far ahead he is. He can afford to throw down some shield batteries. Immortal production underway. Second Oracle comes out. Void Rays have hit the field as well. Again, Void Rays, they're ideal in the early game defensively against an all-in. So it looks like Hero was anticipating an all-in, and he's just looking for proxies. Just making sure there's nothing on his side of the map. And now with 2 Oracles, we can one-shot workers. Stalkers, thankfully, are in position. Nightmare shouldn't lose much here in the main. His natural, likewise, shouldn't lose too much here either. There are Stalkers in position. So Nightmare, he's secure in 2 bases at least, but Hero should be expanding. There we go. Third is now on the way. Blink should be on the horizon for Hero. He does have a Twilight Council +1. Blink hasn't started yet. Hero was focusing on his 3rd base, and there it is. Not Blink, Charge. Do love to see it. So it's going to be a Charge Lot Immortal composition, Charge Lot Immortal Archon. For those wondering, basically Hero is skipping Blink. Blink is good. Charge Lots can be better. Charge Lot Immortal specifically. Those wondering, Zealots, they take a lot of Stalker hits. They're so tanky, so beefy against those Stalkers. Up! Oh my god. No shot! Hero! He denies the 3rd with a probe! Oh my god. This is disgusting. That's a kill, not a cancel. Probe goes down, but that was this late in the game as well. Este hero. Ay, ay, ay. Oracle goes down in the main. So that's a bit of a win here for Nightmare. Hero cannot one-shot workers anymore. So that is finally something going Nightmare's way. Behind this is getting into his own charge. Forge for +1, which will be later than that of Heroes. God, and this army is terrifying. It looks a little bit weird, like it's a bit of an amalgamation. We have Stalkers, Sentries, Void Rays, Immortals, Charge Lots. It's a bit of everything, bit of a kitchen sink, but there's a lot of power here. The Prism, oh my god, he wants it. Jesus, Prism almost goes down. An abomination, Poppy, an abomination. Let's go. As Hero is going to be pushing. Again, this army doesn't have a lot of finesse, but it has a lot of firepower. And here we go. We dive on top of the army. No overcharge. The base isn't done. And we just bully back the Stalkers. Void Rays and Immortals chasing this down. They take down the shield battery as well. Overcharge runs out immediately. And from here, we can rotate back towards the third base. Shield batteries are depowered. Nightmare is setting up for a surround. But pushing into this is still so difficult. But Hero's being pulled apart, and Hero should back off. We have reinforcements. Looks like the War Prison did go down. We just turn back around. We focus on the fight, take down some Stalkers. Nexus taking a lot of hits. 22 pros went down in the main. The Oracle going ham. The Oracle wreaking havoc in the main base. Hero just pulling Nightmare apart. Nightmare, he may have done well making it this far. He took down Solar. He took down Classic. But he cannot take down Hero. GG, well played. Hero will take the series 3-0 and become this week's KSL champion. GG. GG, well played. A dominant performance here from a Hero, looking strong, not just in the finals, but in almost every single series. As we have a look at the brackets, as Hero, he took down Nightmare, he took down Gumiho 2-0. The only person to take a map off of Hero today was Firefly. And we always praise Firefly. We always praise Firefly on this channel. He's arguably the best Protoss player in Asia, not including South Korea, but including Southeast Asia and the rest of Asia. Firefly, he has beaten Hero before, and he almost beat Hero in that PvP. But outside of Firefly, no one else could touch him. As a Hero, looking strong, looking in form, looking dominant in the finals. Congratulations. Congratulations to Hero. Congratulations to those of you that did bet on Hero as well. Or predict, I should say, in the chat. The Gamba was strong for those predictions. Was in favor of Hero. I think it was like 60-30. 66-33-ish. And yeah, with that wraps up our second broadcast of the day. Second of the day, but plenty more to come here. Quickly checking our calendar. We are going to be live in how long? We're going to be live in 2 hours and 40 minutes. Just under 3 hours time. We're going to be live on this channel again with Grand Platypus Open. GPO. If you're wondering, the hell? The platypus? Big platypus? Grand platypus. Grand platypus. It is our own tournament that we do host and run. It is a region lock tournament. As you can tell from the name, it is region locked to Oceania, Southeast Asia, and the rest of Asia as well. It does not include players from South Korea or Europe or the Americas. It is region locked just to support some of the smaller regions in the scene. Just to support some of the players that do need it as well. No, shout out to Chicken Man and Dave Testa. They run and host KSL to support the Korean scene. We do what we can for some of the other smaller scenes in StarCraft. So if you're interested, that's going to be in less than 3 hours. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching. If you want to support the KSL, !KSL in the chat, as that will give you a link to the Patreon. For those wondering, this tournament is funded by the community for the community. If you want your hands on these replays, replay packs are available on that Patreon or in that Patreon, so you can get your fix in if you want to learn how to play like these players, if you want to emulate them, if you just want to even just look at them yourselves or cast via replays. then we got you covered with the Patreon. Check it out. It's amazing. It is beautiful. Otherwise, thank you so much everyone for watching. Thank you so much everyone for tuning in, for checking out this event. A bit of a shorter broadcast today. Less than 3 hours. Usually KSL is 3 to 4 hours, but the games today was so fast. So much aggression here. Dark versus Classic was over in like 15 minutes. Same with like this finals of a PvP, over very quickly as well. So a bit of a shorter broadcast today. But I'm okay with that because we have a lot of broadcasts. It gives me more time to get some food, have a shower, rest up, and get ready for the rest of the night. Because in 3 hours we have GPO. After that, we have World Team League. After that, we have ESL Masters Americas. So a lot to cast. A lot to cast today. We're always busy over the weekend, and hopefully we can make it. Hopefully we can survive. Right now, I'm running off of 4 hours sleep. I slept for 4 hours in between our stream this morning in KSL. Was able to sleep 4 hours, and I don't think I should nap right now, but maybe I'll get some coffee. Maybe I will get some food. 100%. I'm starving. I will get some food and be ready for GPO. Otherwise, thank you so much everyone for watching. If you want to support this tournament in another way, we do have Match Arena. There is a link to the Match Arena page in the chat. So that's a way. Sorry, the Patreon is a way to support the entire tournament series. If you want to support this specific weekly tournament, Match Arena is the place to do it. Codes are available. So make sure you click on those codes and you get that going. So we have plenty of free codes there for Match Arena. Otherwise, thank you so much. We do appreciate the support. Stick around. We're going to be giving another StarCraft streamer a raid, another regular and supporter of the channel. So give Babyling some love and support. Good friends, a good friend here of the Ducklings. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys in a couple of hours for GPO. Until then, hasta luego. Bye. Hasta luego.